So here we are in the third game. The winner of this one map is going to get themselves a spot in WCS EU Challenger. It's intense, and it is absolutely crazy. Spawning up in the top right hand position as the blue Protoss player, representing XMG, we have ToD. And his opponent down in the lower left, representing Team PK, it is GunGFuBaNDa. Things could not be more exciting right now. One game on the line in a PvP. I cannot imagine how tense these two are going to be, to be honest, because as I'm sure a lot of you know, PvP is by many people felt to be a bit of a coin flip, and in no way is it anywhere close to as bad as it was in, say, Wings of Liberty, where there was just flat out build order loss and you couldn't scout any sooner. Instead, now it's not a build order loss, but you can have more advantageous build orders in different points of the game. So you can get build orders that are very good early, and if you don't scout it, it can be tough to hold and you can take a lot of damage. Usually though, most Protoss players go for builds that are quite safe against anything that could be thrown out, so making sure they get some form of detection earlier to prevent DTs wrecking things and anything along those kind of lines. So, neither player proxying, which is always a good thing to see in this game 3. If either player did proxy, I'd have to give them a lot of respect, because that would take massive testicles to do it, to be honest, when there's so much on the line. So they're not. They're playing it safe, and it's the smart thing to do. Don't proxy in game 3 of 3. It's crazy. So, Cybercore coming down, everything looking normal. No, GunGFu does have 6 probes in gas, whereas ToD is also sitting on those 6 probes in gas. And basically what this means is that they're both looking to get some very early tech, and probably tech very aggressively with that. So that could be in the form of a quick Twilight Council into Blink or DTs. It could be for a fast Stargate in order for Oracles, or maybe even Phoenix. Could also be some other great stuff coming through, such as a very fast Robobay or some interesting quick sentry push-outs and stuff like that. But generally it's going to be the Twilight Council or Stargate in the current meta. Both players harassing with probes. Notice they're harassing the probes on the gas. Ideally, they want their opponent to just pull it. Don't want to engage with it. And if they are able to just waste a little bit of time, a little bit of mining on that gas, actually, it can delay things. So ToD going for the Twilight Council. GunGFu opting for the Stargate. And things are already showing some deviation. And that's good. 2 different builds. ToD in game 1 went DTs. Game number 2, it was GunGFu who got some DTs out. ToD will be in a better spot if he takes Blink now up against the Stargate. If he gets DTs and his opponent gets an Oracle, then obviously he'd be in a bit of a worse position. But no, going for Blink. Should add in a robotics facility at some point as well, just to make sure that he's got detection in case it was DTs coming from his opponent. Because currently, ToD hasn't scouted out the Stargate, but nor has GunGFu seen anything about what ToD's doing. It's the trouble when you are scouting in PvP. You see 2 gases with 3 probes in each, and you just can't instantly say, yeah, that's what my opponent's doing. There's still so many options. Not getting the Oracles out though, GunGFu opting for Phoenix. This means that he can't deal as much damage instantly, but he can kind of get into a pretty good position in harassing, continually trying to get more damage down, not going kind of all in with the Oracle. But with Phoenix you can just keep poking and prodding, and in the mid game they certainly have a lot of utility. In small engagements of just a couple of Stalkers, maybe an Immortal or 2, getting some lifts can be huge. But since Blink's on its way, which has now been scouted, GunGFu not going to be probably that happy with his choice in getting Phoenix out, as Blink Stalkers are going to be able to pick them off relatively easy. So, spawning just a couple more gateway units out. Not really too much to say in terms of what GunGFu's doing. He's got 3 Phoenix out, not heavily committing to them. Meanwhile, ToD is doing nothing but pumping a good number of Blink Stalkers. Blink is nearly done, but not laying chase to these Phoenix yet. Not too worried about taking them out super fast. Still the Phoenix skirting around, playing a careful game. They don't want to die. If the Phoenix go down, having done like no damage basically, actually no damage, it'd be a massive waste of them. All these Phoenix have so far achieved is becoming a ridiculously expensive scout. Huge problem. So, GunGFu still just staying active on the map, wants to know anything the ToD may be doing. Meanwhile, GunGFu, what is quite surprising is he opted not to get a single observer out. He knows that there isn't DTs yet, or at least hasn't seen a Dark Shrine and a new Blink was on its way. ToD is going to go for the Blink now. Gets a couple of shots off, doesn't quite manage to get that Phoenix though. Annoying, doesn't matter. He's not revealing it because obviously the Twilight Council was seen flashing away insanely. And because of that, just trying to get a little bit of damage down. One of those Phoenix very vulnerable now. Blink, of course, back off cooldown very quickly. So can just jump straight in and try and snipe off the Phoenix ASAP. ToD also wandering around with this observer. Ideally looking for his opponent's observer, but the first one only just now being made. One thing that the Phoenix could have been used for if they did have an observer for them is be able to snipe off any of your opponent's observers nice and quickly. Of course, an observer is a light unit, so would get taken apart very quickly by Phoenix. Natural bases for both players approaching completion. GunGFu is again ahead in that timing of the natural base, and it's not surprising because he has been every game so far this series. ToD just being a little bit safer. What's also not surprising is the fact that GunGFu, he's going for the robotics bait. Up to those Colossi yet again. In game 1 they were super effective. He was able to hit way before GunGFu, or way before ToD rather, could get out enough Tempest to stop them. Game number 2 though, took too long. And ToD had plenty of time. Quick snipe off a couple of Phoenix, targeting the full health one first in case he could get it. The second one he knew he could get in the retreat. So nicely done there by ToD. Those Phoenix did rack up their first couple of kills though, but still, ToD hardly losing anything at all from this at the moment. Blinks one Stalker up to deal with this hallucinated Phoenix. Not a big investment, or not a big move out, not really risking anything. And both players being very passive for the most part. And it's understandable because if your opponent just gets a little lead, it can quickly snowball into them dying. And oh my goodness, a robotics bay coming down. ToD is going for the legendary Colossus. That all he wants. Observer speed, super fast for some mysterious reason. But yeah, this is looking good times. ToD and GunGFu both sitting relatively similar, both scouting effectively. ToD not likely to move out super fast against this army now. He sees that there's 4 Immortals and he's only got Blink Stalkers. To be honest, not something you want to be trying to deal with anytime soon. Still, both players just macroing up perfectly happily. Upgrades yet again ahead for GunGFu. He's done this repeatedly. And getting, obviously, that upgraded lead can make a big difference. The Colossus lead also goes for GunGFu, although it's only by about 1 Colossus. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not huge. But it's still enough that you're going to sit there, and if there is engagement early on, that 1 Colossus advantage can actually be very substantial. ToD now, sitting here, just waiting it out. GunGFu also not in any rush to kind of engage. And being in game 3 of this best of 3 with a qualification into WCS on the line, it makes sense. You've got to think that these two players have the next couple of months of really the high life and the stardom in WCS on the line. If you don't get through to WCS, you are actually in a bit of an annoying position, because even someone as well known as, say, ToD, actually then sits there with a tough call of, well, is my playing relevant at the moment? And sure it is, but WCS is where all of the attention lies. And if you do well in WCS, it kind of confirms you're a good player. GunGFu, of course, wanting to get through as well. Equally so, may not be as well known as ToD, but still, it's his chance to prove himself. If you get into Challenger, you've got a chance to get into Premier. If you get into Premier, that's when suddenly the entire community knows your name. These Phoenix taking a bit of damage. It's going to die. I thought it was going to die, so just stop there. Played dead. Didn't unfortunately work. And ToD now starts up his own third Nexus. He knows that his opponent was taking his. And ToD's again is a long way behind. Because he's only just starting it now and his opponent is already finished. The probe count favouring GunGfu. And that's going to increase as long as he keeps his production cycles up. ToD now moving forward with these Stalkers. He's got an observer to keep an eye on what's happening. Can harass a little with them. Going to be moving through. He can come up into the main and blink down back to here, but there's not an easy exit, so probably doesn't want to move past the natural, if at all avoidable. Managing to pick off a couple of workers. GunGfu also up to 5 worker kills now, so both sides trading a couple of losses, but this is nothing that makes you scream, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world. GunGfu still up by a couple of Colossi actually, up by 2 currently, so ToD may have missed one slightly or maybe missed a chrono boost or 2. Engaging with these Stalkers, that's not something he wants to do. The Colossi gonna hurt a lot more. Nice little pick up with these Zealots. GunGfu preventing the retreat, allowing him to snipe a couple more Stalkers. And just a couple more Stalkers is actually massive. GunGfu's only sitting on 3, but ToD now only has 5, and that was a decent amount of resources. ToD now losing 500 more than his opponent, but at 16 minutes through the game, losing only kind of 1,200, 1,500 resources is minimal. But that could be about to change massively. Because GunGfu getting quite aggressive, posturing forward by the watchtower closest to ToD's base. ToD frantically trying to get his 4th Colossus out to at least match that. Overall army supplies do favour GunGfu by 10. And 10 army supply really may not sound like too much, but it's a mirror. And as long as the real power units, the Colossi, are level, then you start looking at slightly smaller differences. ToD has a couple more Stalkers, a couple less Zealots, 3 less Immortals, and that's a good amount of damage output onto the Colossi if they're focused well. And that can make a quick bit of difference. ToD now transferring probes down towards his 30, still down by 6 workers. 5 now, but still minimal differences. And both players posturing. And we're back into a similar situation as in game number 2. Which is neither player really wants to engage, because if they take a bad engagement, which GunGfu would, if he walked up here, he'd be in a tight choke and Colossus would just wreck everything. If he goes for it, he's very, very brave. Looks like he does want to go for it, but ToD gets the better shots out and he backs out. I'm glad about that. Engaging in a choke there where your entire army's stacked against a nice spread group of Colossi, the splash damage for ToD would be way too much. Nice little bit of Zealot harassment coming in though. A couple more workers killed by GunGfu. ToD, keeping a lot of forces there though, is able to defend it all up. Meanwhile, GunGfu, he's just fortifying his own base. Saw ToD with cannons at the 3rd and was like, hey, that's actually quite a good idea. I don't want Zealots, but just a couple of Zealots ruining my day. Double Colossus production now for GunGfu. Meanwhile, ToD starting up the Stargate. Short term, this is bad for ToD because he's not getting obviously 2 Colossus at a time, so his Colossus count will be reduced to that of his opponent. Long term though, if he goes into Tempest, it's great for ToD because he's got Tempest and GunGfu doesn't. And late game PvP, that makes a massive difference as we saw in game number 2. So ToD needs to be quite defensive now, needs to make sure that nothing terrible happens. And one way he can do that is with harassment. He can say to GunGfu, sure, come and attack me, it's fine, go for it bro, but I'm just going to keep harassing you, so you might want to defend that, assuming you want to take this expansion. Fleet Beacon now on its way for ToD. And actually this 4th Nexus, actually no, it should get saved. There's only 3 Zealots there, and there's a lot of Zealots for GunGfu coming over. Going to be a little closer than probably wanted. Both players sitting at the +2 ground upgrades. ToD ahead though on the +3, which is really quite impressive for him because he was behind in the upgrades earlier on. So nice to see that coming through. Double Stargates now here. Double Tempest going to start the second that Fleet Beacon is done. Without a doubt, ToD wants to get those out as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, GunGfu, he's taken the lead in terms of the Colossus count by 3. So that's actually quite a substantial lead. He's also up by 2 Immortals. GunGFu now being able to identify that his opponent has expanded, or is attempting to expand, but he's behind that of GunGFu. GunGFu's 4th base is up and running now. If we get a very quick count out of GunGFu, we might sit here and go, hey, ToD has way less Colossi than I do. Where's his money going? And may realize Tempest are on the way, but even if he was able to work that out, the trouble is, it takes a while to get across the map. And if he goes for it, the first 2 Tempests are already there. ToD really needs to keep making them though. He's got the supply to. Really needs to make those Tempests and Chrono Boost them. Bit short on money. Okay, now I can afford it. ToD, make the next Tempest. GunGFu's coming for you. If you don't have 4 Tempests out, you've got a problem. Okay. GunGFu moving forward. He wants to force a cancel of this 4th base, but gonna find that it was cancelled for him way before. So he's just backing away now, sending a hallucinated Phoenix in. I'm gonna realise, yep, they are Tempest. Unfortunately for GunGFu, doesn't know precisely how many there are. Knows there's at least 2, but that doesn't give away the grand total. And this seems scarier than it probably needs to GunGFu at the moment. 2 Tempests aren't really a problem. Sure, they dish out a good amount of damage, but they've got to be focused on a Colossus and actually be dealing well with it. Whereas, by backing away, he's given ToD the chance to produce a lot more Tempest. And ideally, ToD wants 6. 4 is okay, 6 is ideal. It means he can start one-shotting Colossi. Double expansion now from the XMG player. Not yet seen. Even though it's being produced, the Watchtower can't actually see over there unless a gas has been taken. So, GunGFu just waiting at the moment. He's coming to check up here anyway, though. A lot of Zealots now coming through for ToD. He's heading down towards this 4th base, and this is a lot of Zealots. A lot of army supply. In grand total, it's like 16, 17, 18. Engagement in the center. ToD getting hit by a time warp. His Tempests are still there, though, so it makes GunGFu a little bit careful about engaging. ToD takes out the 4th base of his opponent. That is a big pick-off. It means that their economies are once again level, and actually ToD will take a 4th base quicker than GunGFu, since his is nearly done. He cancels the gold. No need to take that as a risk, considering the fact that his opponent is now stuck on 3 Nexi. More Tempest coming through after freeing up supply, losing the Zealots. And Zealots in late game PvP really are not a big deal. Freeing up the supply is actually really good for ToD. ToD also having more Tempest out, or having Tempest out at all, is really good for him. And probably again in this mid-game, we're going to be seeing the importance of the Oracle getting Revelations down to grant those Tempest vision. So, upgrades are currently sitting at +1 air attack for ToD, +3 weapons and +1 shields. Meanwhile, over on GunGFu's side, he's sitting at +3 ground weapons and +1 shields. We see already that Revelation coming down on a lot of this army. So waiting to see if these Tempests are going to try and get any pot shots off. Remember, they've got a massive range. Again, ToD moving in. This time to the 3rd base of GunGFu. The Zealots do have +3 attack, but no additional armor apart from on their shields. So duking out with this cannon is going to be quite hard for them, especially with these warpins messing up the pathing. The Tempest coming a long way up. Going to be trying to get a bit more damage down. Overall, if we take a quick little look at the resources lost, we can, or actually the units lost, we've got actually not much going down on either side. Overall, the resources lost are pretty low. GunGFu losing about 2,000-ish more resources overall this game. And to be honest, 26 minutes through, that is pretty much nothing. So, ToD really fortifying this 4th base. So many cannons. Does not want it going down to Zealots. He wants to make sure this area is well protected. That means he can bring more of his attention over to guarding this left-hand side. Tempest count currently sitting at 7-1. GunGFu trying to get his own out, but actually supply capped at the moment. ToD with 1 Dark Templar, being a bit irritating, but going to be forced to cancel this gold base again. Doesn't matter. He's got up his own 4th. GunGFu just trying to find a way he can actually engage through. Is there anything that can be done that'll shut this out? Well, nice little Revelation means that ToD does have vision for his Tempest to start shelling away, and GunGFu has to retreat. He cannot engage while his entire army is revealed, and instead just goes for a little bit of harassment. Coming in with some Zealots, with some DTs. Once the cannons are down, there's actually no other detection there. The only observer for ToD is sitting with his army. Doing a good job of stopping too much else from happening. The DT actually walked in there for ToD. It wasn't GunGFu's. And ToD moving forward, pressuring on. He wants this 4th base dead. And with the Tempest, he's got an advantage to start sieging it up. In come the Archons. They're focusing down those cannons ridiculously fast. ToD not yet going for that Nexus, backing away a little. Wants to keep a close eye on where GunGFu's army is. And GunGFu's army is all the way back. He's very defensive, and ToD coming in from the other side. It's a smart way to go. If he's engaging through here, he's spreading himself out and can engage sideways from the flank. So instead, just waiting, biding his time, and now moving in to kill that Nexus. Another nice pick of checking with the DT that the other 4th hasn't been taken, and ToD really taking control of this game at the moment. He's got his gold base coming down once more, and he's really keeping everything together very nicely. He's up. He's actually lost about half the resources of his opponent, and while his income overall this game is slightly higher than his opponent's, these are all just leaning into his favour. 3 additional Stargates coming in for ToD. This may seem a bit crazy. He's maxed out. Why is he adding all those in? It's because his bank is growing rapidly. And what ToD needs to try and alleviate is the risk that if there was one single bad engagement for him and he lost his army, that GunGFu could come and basically just end the series. So by adding in those additional Stargates, it basically means he's only got 1 production cycle to remake nearly all of his Tempest. Really important for him. So, still, quick little mass recall needed, just because there's a DT and a couple of Zealots dealing some nice damage at GunGFu's 3rd. ToD's killed 9 workers this game, so not much, but he's now able to move in towards this 4th yet again and snipe it down nice and fast. Cancel force, nothing GunGFu can do. He's trying to harass with an Immortal, but a DT with +3 attack, making short work of that, means ToD is looking to go up to 6 bases, up against the 3. ToD, even to someone who's never seen StarCraft before, it's pretty obvious to see that 6 bases up against 3 puts him in a good spot. However, what may not be obvious is that GunGFu is now up by 1 Tempest, and that means that trades can get pretty tight. Big Immortal move in here, and this is to free up the Immortal supply. The Nexus not killed, there we go, gets taken down. A little bit annoying, but remember ToD does have that gold base still. He's got his own DT trying to swipe away here, trying to pick that off. So both players struggling to keep expansions up, and that's because their army has to move together. If they split it, it just dies. Expansion management late game really is key. We're already 32 minutes in to this PvP, and the winner of this series advances into Challenger League. That is what's at stake. That is why they're both being so cautious. It is just 1 win, and 1 bad trade can cost you everything. And that's a problem. No cancel there for ToD. His bank is a little bit low on the minerals compared to GunGFu's, but with the gold base up, I'm sure that's going to get quickly rectified. GunGFu's still unable to take a 4th base, so if we look at their incomes, ToD mining considerably more. GunGFu now, being the hero that all the community needs, making a couple of carriers. And I briefly touched on this last game. Carriers may seem like an odd choice here, but they actually serve a purpose. And that is that having a couple of interceptors out, or quite a few interceptors out, can sometimes mess up the AI of your opponent's units into attacking them. If an interceptor takes some shots off, say, a Tempest, that is a massive decrease in damage being done to your more powerful units. It's so important. Still, big army for both sides. Deathball on Deathball. But Colossus are all sieging up. ToD has no Colossus with this army. This is huge. He's actually sent all of his Colossus to deal with this. GunGFu very well could take this fight. It's going to be ridiculously close. Overall, GunGFu is going to have like 8 Colossi, or at least 6 engaging if he pushes in now. The Tempest count, though, again favouring ToD. 15 to 13. Cancels that 4th, but a 3rd base now gone for GunGFu. It's mined out anyway. Only a little bit of gas remaining, so it's not the end of the world. But GunGFu going to really start struggling on gas. In comes GunGFu, pushing in towards ToD's natural base. ToD making a bold play, adding in more Stargates. He wants to be able to produce more Tempest if needed. may actually end up base racing here. And ToD with the Colossi already in position, going to make a big difference. Unfortunately, he's taking damage from Tempest. And they are able to deal so much damage now to these Colossi. The standing armies really are pretty level. ToD, though, losing so much supply in these Colossi dying to the Tempest. He's trying to add in more as fast as he can. Is there any of GunGFu's army still sitting around here? No, it doesn't appear so. So ToD with a lot of Archons, a lot of Tempest. GunGFu still has all of his Colossi though. He's up by 4 Colossus, down by 4 Tempest. It's still really anyone's game. ToD attempting to add in more Stargates now. Needs to keep those coming. Big mass recall now comes from GunGFu. He's retreating out. He's like, okay, I've killed all of the Stargates. Those were the really important production structures. Keeping those up essential for ToD to remax. So ToD now down in army supply, 123 to 145. 36.5 minutes through this game. Fleet Beacon was also taken out, and that's a problem because ToD... Actually, no, there must be still a Fleet Beacon up. Yeah, there is. Okay. ToD just remaking a spare Fleet Beacon, just in case. And keeping a spare Fleet Beacon in a just-in-case situation isn't actually a bad move when you see big, bold plays like that pushing. So GunGFu's economy currently sitting at basically 0. ToD is still mining something, but he hasn't got much gas in the bank. Needs to keep these gas geysers up for pretty much as long as possible. Sneak out a couple more units, and he'll start climbing the army supply. This is so tense. There is very little between these two players now. Their army supplies, which is really what matters at this stage, makes all the difference. You can see it up there in the units tab. Add it up for yourselves. But there's minor advantages for each army. The biggest difference is sitting in the fact that there are 6 Colossi for GunGFu and none for ToD. ToD pumping all of his money into Tempest and Archons. ToD also down in upgrades. He's down at only 1 shields compared to the 3 shields of GunGFu. And while that's not going to make too much difference when obviously these Tempests are hitting so hard, it's important to know. However, ToD is up by 1 air attack, and I'm pretty sure 1 air attack will make more difference. Yeah, well, up against Massive Air, 95 damage per hit, whereas only 90 damage, so 5 more damage per hit, whereas obviously the shields for GunGFu's Tempest have 2 additional armor. So overall, 3 more damage per hit, Tempest on Tempest. Very, very tough. Again, we see GunGFu repositioning. ToD basically doesn't care about this top right. Is going to lose that Fleet Beacon, but remember... Oh god, he didn't cancel it, did he? Oh god, he did cancel it. Why did he cancel it, ToD? You needed that. Okay, don't worry, it's fine. Not the end of the world. Unit tab, back up. Both armies, very comparable. 3 more Tempests for ToD, 6 more Colossi for GunGFu. And GunGFu slowly moving forward. Both players getting those revelations down, getting that vision. ToD moving through the sneaky army of Zealots and DTs, trying to pick away at anything he can find. GunGFu does not want to be the one to initiate. ToD expanding to his opponent's optional 5th base. And this is insane. ToD can't move in with those DTs now because obviously there is a photon cannon and a DT defensively. ToD slowly losing a couple of his key tech structures. Has he got to remaking his Fleet Beacon? Yep. Yeah, he has. Back here at his 3rd base. And he really needs that Fleet Beacon to come down. I've just decided to stay in the fully, or not the fully zoomed out, but 1 level of zoomed out because Tempest armies are so big, we can't really get a good scale of what's going on otherwise. ToD just sitting back. We're now 41 minutes through this game. And neither player is in an astoundingly good or bad position. They're both kind of sitting there feeling pretty dicey for the most part. They're both saying, well, do you know what? I don't know if I can definitely win. Maybe I can. But I don't want to risk it. ToD cancels that base as GunGFu comes back over. And this is ridiculously strategic. It reminds me a lot of kind of Wings of Liberty TVT, where you just end up with these massive tank lines and they're both just sitting there and like neither player wants to actually take the engagement because if they don't get the first shot off, then they're probably going to lose. And when you're sitting here with kind of 19 and 17 Tempest, it's quite comparable. So, waiting patiently. ToD, in resources lost, actually losing slightly more at this stage. 25,000 compared to 22.5-ish thousand. Very little differences. Army supply favouring ToD though by 6. Again, ever so minor. This is probably going to come down to one monumentally large battle of lasers. ToD moving forward. Does he want it? No, he wants the base. Ooh, one shot off. Got an Oracle. Was that the only Oracle? Okay, I'm getting really excited about this, but this is important. Remember Revelation? The thing that means that you can see your opponent's army 100%? So your Tempest can get that first essential shot off? Yeah. GunGfu, he does not have one of those anymore. ToD is the only one sitting with the ability to see easily. Gold base taking a bit of damage. Probes pulled away. Income-wise, ToD is still ahead. He's mining about 100 more minerals and gas per minute. Sniping off that gas is actually really important. That denies about another 100 gas per minute from his opponent. Bottom right-hand base has now been taken. ToD secured up an additional nexus here. So he's sitting on what is 3 mining bases. Currently, GunGfu sitting on 1, 2. But he's got a gold base. So's ToD though. So he's still pretty level. Archon count, 16 to 5 in ToD's favour. Big lead there. But 6 Colossi up against none for GunGfu. Tempest count also now really starting to spiral in favour of ToD. 24 to 18. That's a good advantage. 6 additional Tempests mean that those one-shots are going to be coming down. He's got one more volley of one-shotting, if that makes sense, assuming all the Tempests die equally on both sides. Production pretty much stalled to nothing. ToD just adding in +3 shields. Still no sign of +3 air weapons for GunGfu. And that's actually really important because, as I previously mentioned, this cast, plus an additional air upgrade for a Tempest means that against massive air, they deal 5 more damage per hit. So assuming all the other upgrades are equal, that means ToD's Tempest per volley are dealing like nearly 125 more damage than GunGfu's, if my math is right. No, yes, over that, because ToD's even got more Tempest. Couple of shots coming through now. ToD is going to lose a Tempest there. A little bit annoying. Overall, the resources lost. GunGfu now leveling that out, gets another Tempest, and ToD needs to be really careful. Cannot afford to be taking shot after shot for nothing. ToD resupplying though, nice and easy. GunGfu's the one with the big supply, or the big bank advantage anyway, despite being down on income. Resources lost, still favouring GunGfu, though by a bit less. Wow, massive shot goes down there. Revelation was not... Oh no, got like a couple of units, so that's fine. In come the Tempest now. This could be it. The engagement coming down. ToD feels like he's got to trade for it. The Archons deal splash damage to air, really helping. Both sides taking big hits. ToD supply, though, lower at the moment. The Interceptors trying to get in on the fight. ToD supply crumbling. GunGfu is trading well, but the Tempest count is what really matters. ToD at 15 to 5. So, the anti-air lacking now for GunGfu. Some Stalkers coming through. His Archon's trying to get the damage down too. Only 2 Tempests remain. 1 Tempest remain for GunGfu. The Colossi getting taken out, but the Stalkers blinking underneath these Tempests. ToD with 9 Tempests trying to take out these Stalkers. The Archon's there for GunGfu as well. Both players down at just 40-odd army supply. It was pretty much mutual destruction, but the Tempest for ToD not able to effectively deal with this army quickly. Both players back away, both around 30 army supply. That was a ridiculously close trade. I cannot begin to explain, or I'm going to try to explain anyway. They both lost such similar amounts of stuff. The resources lost basically the same, just about 20-odd thousand resources more on both sides. But the Stalkers remain for GunGfu. He's got 13 Stalkers, ToD doesn't. ToD is adding in more Tempest. GunGfu spending his remaining gas on additional Tempest as well. And this is still a very, very close game. A base taken down now by GunGfu. We're 48 minutes through in this best of 3. And there is no quick and easy way to decide who's going to be able to take this map. Army supplies still very level. Worker supplies, very level. Upgrades, ridiculously close. The big difference, though, is in the air upgrades. Plus 3 to 3 for ToD. Armor, weapons, armor, shields. Whereas GunGFu's air is only sitting at plus 203. That's a big upgrade lead for ToD. And he's doing everything that he can to maximize that effectiveness. Cannons being thrown down. A couple of shots on those stalkers, but the blink away means they won't do damage. GunGFu trying to add in more Tempest of his own. Incomes, which of course is very important. Very level still. GunGFu just with a big lead when it comes to that bank at the moment. Nice Revelation sees where all of ToD's army is moving. And we're getting into probably the final stage of this game. They're going to both be likely limited to being able to resupply. Maybe they can both max out perhaps once more. And that's it. And I'm thinking that's from like the total minerals and gas remaining on the map. These two bases really are the tough ones to hold. Gold bases pretty much mined out. The resources loss difference, 2,000 resources difference when in overall 40-odd thousand resources, 40,500 resources lost. That's minimal. 2,000 there is only a very small percentage. This is one of the closest, one of the longest PvPs I have cast as a competitive game. And it's all for a chance to qualify for WCS EU Challenger. Forward, now come these Archons. A lot of Stalkers getting caught. ToD up 7 Archons to none. Down 1 Tempest, but his Tempests have got better upgrades. This is so ridiculously close. ToD should have the advantage now. These Archons actually make a huge difference. 7 Archons is better than 10 Stalkers. But overall army supplies are going in ToD's favour now. But he's still waiting. Still hoping that something good's going to come out from this. GunGFu, of course, doesn't want to give up too early. Doesn't want to throw away this game. Because if he loses this map, he loses this qualifier. He doesn't get the spot in WCS and only has tomorrow's wild card as an option to qualify for Season 2 of WCS EU, assuming that he's got the 200 wide ladder wins. Incomes are still very, very low on both sides. Sitting at a slight advantage for ToD, actually. That's due to this base of ToD, giving him just a brief lead. A lone Dark Templar trying to get some damage done there. Not actually achieving too much. Production's really minimal, so I'm just keeping things on the unit tab now, because that's where the real differences can come. ToD still posturing nicely. He's down now by 4 Tempests, but he's adding in 2 more, so he's only actually going to be down by 2 totally. And ToD really looking to keep this base up. Surprised he hasn't taken the gas, but it's the minerals he really needs. Going to be able to deny his opponent's something base. I think that's his opponent's 6th, yeah, it is. And denying that 6th base is really important. Because ToD now has a mining base that his opponent doesn't. And considering these 2 corner bases are getting very close to mining out, the gold bases pretty much are mined out. Every mineral and every Vespian really will make a difference. Blink Stalkers now coming forward. They're going to try and harass ToD's 6th, but ToD coming over, and if he manages to get a good intercept, which he's going for with these Tempests, he can deal a lot of damage, but a blink away, the Nexus saved. They weren't able to get enough damage down. Important times. Still, the Tempest counts relatively similar, 13 to 14. A slight advantage here in the Tempest count for GunGFu. But in overall army supply, ToD is now 20-ish up. Really important. The gas is what really matters here. So the 100 or 1,000 or so minerals doesn't make too much of a difference at this stage, because it's all down to the gas, and both players are struggling on that. However, ToD should now have a bit higher gas income. Where's this extra gas coming from? Hang on. 2 gas guys is there, 2 gas guys is there. ToD should be mining on 2 gas guys is there. Ah, he's mined out his gold, that's why. So they're on level gas incomes. And yeah, this is looking pretty nice. Both players pretty much tied out in terms of overall resources lost. 46,000 compared to 45,000. Only a couple of hundred resources difference. And at nearly an hour long into this PvP, this is crazy. Still, neither player wanting to engage yet. And I know a lot of you, I can see the Twitch chat as you're sitting here, and a lot of you... Lol, at least this beats Swarmhost v Swarmhost. ToD, if you never engage, I'm not sure it does. You have to be at least fighting. I guess it does beat Swarmhost v Swarmhost. Let me know. Someone send me tweets. I want your predictions. It's got to that point. When it gets to an hour, I can start bringing up other creative things to talk about. Send me some tweets. At Madals91. Is Swarmhost v Swarmhost better than Tempest v Tempest? Let me know. An attempt by ToD to take his opponent 6th. GunGFu's just like, oh hell no, you're not getting that. And a couple of Tempest shots go out. Good revelation comes through on both sides, seeing what's happening here. The Tempest count just in favour of GunGFu, but the engagement now coming down. This could decide who gets into WCS EU Challenger. ToD winning this fight monumentally. He's still got those 7 Archons. He's down by 2 Tempests, but he's pushing forward. Overall army supply hugely in favour of ToD at the moment. At 140 to 87. GunGFu, only with 400 of gas, is going to struggle to resupply off of that. Especially when ToD is on 6 bases, and he's sitting there only on 5. This bottom right hand base pretty much mined out. 167 more gas there. The gold gas is still running for GunGFu. But overall, ToD still running about 100 more gas per minute. And ToD's still waiting. And looking at the facts, looking at the units that are currently on the map, I don't know why he's waiting. He can't obviously be confident without full vision of what his opponent's got. But he can be pretty confident that he's denied his opponent's base as well, and that he should have a similar amount of stuff. 21 to 19 Tempest. One Archon going to get warped in here for GunGFu. But ToD still sitting there with 7. ToD with the air upgrade advantages as well. So while there are 20v21 Tempest, ToD is still at 333 air upgrades, whereas GunGFu at 203. That means ToD's Tempest deal an additional 5 damage per shot to massive air, such as Tempest, while his Tempest take a reduced 5 armor total there, I'm just double checking, compared to 8 armor. So an additional 3 less damage per shot. ToD is not going to get that base, but he's also denying it repeatedly from GunGFu. ToD really is in a really solid spot. I know I keep saying really, but he's just in an amazing position. I don't believe ToD can now lose unless he gets the worst engagement ever. The fact that there's the 7 Archons and now ToD is 1 up in Tempest, which are better upgraded, it cannot make any change. So where, oh where, does the next engagement happen? It's going to be ToD putting on the pressure. He takes out this gold base, or at least the gases. He stops GunGFu really producing much more for quite a while. Bear in mind we're now an hour and 1 minute into this game. And ToD is only just now feeling a bit more confident. Sacrificing a lot of zealots. Not quite suiciding them, but basically doing so. He wants to free up supply. Levels out the army supply, but of course ToD can hopefully be replacing that army supply with more Tempests over time. He can only produce 1 per basically production cycle because he's just so low on gas. Oh, nice pick off there. An Archon for GunGFu goes down to ToD's 22 Tempests. These are 2 monumentally large armies. Their overall army supplies, or their overall army value, is very huge. 53,000 compared to 52,000. No, that can't be right. That's the total army made all the time. This is the one I meant. Very level. ToD just got about 2,000 more gas tied up, but oh, are we going to get a big engagement here? The Tempest getting a couple of shots off. If they get another Archon, it'd be a big pick. They're going to get a couple of Tempests. ToD going for this now. He is up in supply. He is getting better trades. His Tempest count is higher. The Archon count is higher. ToD crushing through this army now. An attempt by GunGFu to retreat away, but ToD pushing forward. He must know that he's got enough stuff now. He's waiting patiently, not going in, and I don't know why ToD is waiting. GunGFu testing that, as every good caster should, I've got my profanity filter on. Speculate what these words were. They're pretty much interchangeable. But GunGFu, I think, is realizing that there isn't a solution to this. Down goes these Tempests now. ToD pushing in for the victory. His Tempests are winning hugely. He's going to take it. He's going to take the WCS EU Challenger spot. Grats. ToD even asking if they want to do a dance before the end, but GunGFu not going to give him that. Leaves the game, and ToD takes the series 2-1 after an hour and 4 minutes and claims his spot in WCS EU Challenger Season 2.